It was a particularly gloomy day, and Alma Silly was looking for the baby deer she usually cares for. But she didn't find any of them. Concerned, she wandered through her yard, calling softly in hopes of hearing the familiar rustle of leaves or gentle calls of the fawns. The forest near her home seemed unusually quiet, as if even the animals were preparing for the brewing storm. The air carried a sharp chill, and dark clouds rolled in, promising heavy rain. When she came back inside, exhausted and a little disheartened, Alma Silly discovered three unexpected visitors. Seeking shelter from the storm, the baby deer had already decided to make themselves at home. They found a cozy spot in her living room, next to a small wooden table, looking perfectly at ease. Their wide, innocent eyes stared up at her as if to say, "We're sorry to intrude, but we had nowhere else to go." Amused and relieved, Alma Silly couldn't help but laugh. She quickly fetched her camera and snapped a photo of the adorable scene. Posting it online, she wrote, "The back door was accidentally left open, and these clever little ones decided to come in and wait out the storm." She admired their ingenuity, marveling at how nature always finds a way to adapt. It's funny, she thought, how animals always know where to go to feel safe. Alma's connection with animals had always been special. For years, she had cared for orphaned wildlife, providing food, shelter, and love to creatures that found their way to her home. From tiny birds to injured foxes, her house near the woods had become a sanctuary. It wasn't unusual for her to spend hours every day ensuring the well-being of her animal friends. Many of the animals she had cared for returned to visit her, as if they remembered the kindness she had shown them. As the storm raged on outside, Alma prepared a warm meal for her unexpected guests. She set out bowls of fresh water and some of the vegetables she kept for her garden animals. The fawns approached cautiously at first, but quickly warmed up to her. She sat nearby, watching them eat, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment in knowing they were safe. The sound of the rain pounding on the roof only made the cozy scene inside feel more magical. "I've always had a soft spot for animals," Alma reflected as she sipped her tea. "These babies lost their parents too early, and it's my duty to help them. I know they would do the same for me if they could." Her voice carried a mix of joy and sadness, as she thought about the struggles these creatures must have faced in the wild. She often wondered what their lives might have been like had their parents survived. Later that evening, the baby deer grew more comfortable, exploring Alma's living room with their tiny, careful steps. One of them nuzzled against her hand, as if to express gratitude. Alma felt a lump in her throat, overwhelmed by the innocence and trust they showed her. It was a moment that reminded her why she had chosen to dedicate her life to helping animals. She decided to make the night extra special for her little visitors. Alma spread out some soft blankets on the floor near the fireplace, creating a warm, inviting space for the fawns to rest. They curled up together, their gentle breaths creating a soothing rhythm. Alma sat beside them for a while, stroking their soft fur and humming a lullaby she remembered from childhood. Outside, the storm continued to rage, the wind howling through the trees. But inside, it was a haven of peace and warmth. Alma thought about how nature, though often harsh and unpredictable, had its moments of harmony and beauty. She felt honored to be part of that balance, even in such a small way. The next morning, Alma woke up to find the fawns still asleep, their small bodies snug against each other. She smiled as she tiptoed around the house, careful not to disturb them. As the sun began to break through the clouds, she prepared breakfast for herself and checked the weather to ensure the worst of the storm had passed. When the fawns finally stirred, they seemed reluctant to leave the comfort of Alma's home. She opened the back door and watched as they hesitated at the threshold, looking back at her with what seemed like a mixture of gratitude and reluctance. Finally, they stepped outside, disappearing into the woods. Alma stood by the door for a while, her heart full. She knew they would return when they needed her, just as they always had. That day, Alma spent hours reflecting on her bond with the wildlife around her. She remembered the first fawn she had cared for years ago and how that experience had changed her. Since then, her life had been filled with countless encounters, each one teaching her something new about compassion and resilience. She later shared the story online, encouraging others to care for the animals around them. They may be wild, but their lives are intertwined with ours, she wrote. Every act of kindness matters, even to those who cannot speak our language. Let's make this world a little safer for all creatures. Alma's story quickly went viral, touching the hearts of thousands of people worldwide. Messages poured in from animal lovers who shared their own experiences with wildlife. Some offered to send supplies, while others simply expressed gratitude for the reminder that kindness knows no bounds. In the following weeks, Alma noticed that the fawns returned frequently, often lingering near her back porch. It was as if they had adopted her as their second mother, a guardian who would always provide warmth and safety. She welcomed their visits, always keeping the back door open, just in case they needed her again. With each visit, Alma felt her bond with the natural world deepen. She realized that her life, though simple, was profoundly meaningful. The storm may have brought the fawns to her doorstep, but it was love and trust that kept them coming back.